What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of the Daily Energy Newsbeat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Wednesday, December 6th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
It's been a gas up here in Bear Country.
Yeah, it's absolutely been. I mean, with COP28 and everything we got going on, the news deck has been off the hook. But we have an excellent menu. We've pared it down for you today. First up, King Charles demands $5 trillion per year to advance World Economic Forum's net zero agenda. Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. I request $5 trillion too. Next up, oil CEO says blaming the energy industry for the climate crisis is like, quote, blaming farmers for obesity. That's not our quote. That is a direct quote from the article. So Stu will cover all the things that's going on at COP28. The other thing that got dropped is Saudi Arabia says absolutely not to oil phase down at COP28. That's big story that happened. Next up, this is just funny. Heinz 57, our favorite climate ambassador, John Kerry, loud fart sound erupts during John Kerry's speech at climate panel. We're not saying who it was. We're going to just play you the audio and let you, the listener, decide. And then finally, nuclear power is the only solution. This is an opinion piece from our friends over at time.com. Stu will then drop it over to me. I'll quickly cover what happened in the oil and gas markets today, as we really saw prices tumble on the expectation of cuts that may or may not come. And then we saw what the API is predicting the EIA crude oil inventory numbers will be. So we'll cover all that and a bag of chips, guys. But first, as always, check us out. World's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all of your energy news. Stu and the team do a great job of curating that site. Make sure it stays up to speed. Everything you need to know to be at the tip of the spear when it comes to the energy business. You can check out us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, at Energy Newsbeat on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. If I was a 16-year-old YouTuber, I'd pound my fist and scream that, but I'll spare you. Great place to check us out there on YouTube. Team does a great job on that. You can also check the description below on either the podcast or YouTube. Find out the links to all of the articles we're about to cover, timestamps so you can jump ahead, curate the show as you need. You can also hit us up, questions at energynewsbeat.com, dashboard.energynewsbeat.com, our data news combo product. Love for any feedback on that. Connect with Stu and I, our LinkedIn. I'm going to Brett though, Stu. Where do you want to begin?
Let's start with my buddy Schwab and King Charles. They demand $5 trillion per year to advance the World Economic Forum's net zero agenda. You can't tell me there's two bigger perverts in the world talking to each other. In the picture on our site, they're leaning in, telling stories. It's just disgusting looking. Okay, here we go. Net zero is a list of unrealistic goals laid out by the World Economic Forum, backing from the UN. This is unbelievable. King Charles III delivered a speech at the opening ceremony of COP28. He said, quote, they need 4.5 to 5 trillion per year to drive the transformation that's needed because of climate change. This sparked the oil companies that are there. Pow, 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 pow. What, did you hear that? That was some more people when all of the oil companies walked in. Their heads were popping. They're like, who invited you to this party?
I mean, massive amount of mixed signals. I mean, COP28 has become a breeding ground for, it's obviously a climate focused, but being held in the UAE. I don't think people realize that this COP28, which is a symposium surrounded by the idea that we're going to lower emissions and we need to get off oil and gas. 100%. Oil and gas is the enemy. They are literally holding the convention in a state that is solely funded by oil and gas production.
And the president of COP this year, Michael, is the oil guy.
So, I mean, I want 5 trillion too, King Charles. Add it onto the tab. What's a few trillion between friends? Absolutely hilarious. I think it's, as you rapidly pointed out, the hypocrisy here is it's so obvious, it's not obvious. That's what they're trying.
Oh, yeah.
What is it? It's so overt, it's covert. Somebody said that.
What
I think
movie
that's a
was that?
Sherlock Holmes
Oh, yeah.
phrase.
That is funny. And he goes, 28 years ago, I was most touched to ask to speak at the opening of COP21 in Paris, which of course culminated in the Paris Agreement, said Charles III at COP28. Good grief.
Yeah, speaking of those oil CEOs, what did they say? That's the next one here.
Oil CEOs blaming the energy industry for climate crisis is like blaming farmers for obesity. I love it. The oil companies are fighting back. I think this is great. The chief executive of the UAE based energy firm Crescent Petroleum said Tuesday that blaming the oil and gas industry for the climate crisis is like blaming farmers for obesity. I got really tickled at that.
It's true.
It is. When you sit back and take a look at Dubai, he goes, here's a quote out of it. Now we still need oil and gas throughout the transition, and there's no scenario or even the most ambitious scenario that does not include that. They are right. The Secretary General Antonio Guterres announcement that it was a step in the right direction. Again, you've heard me say this a lot. Saudi Arabia is investing billions in hydrogen. They're trying to go green, but they're funding it with oil and gas. What happened about Texas? We got more solar and wind than anybody else. We're half the price. If you want to do it, you got to have oil and gas.
Yeah, absolutely. But remember, our friends over at the International Energy Agency, the IEA, remember, they said last month that the fossil fuel industry faces a, quote, moment of truth about their role in the global energy system and climate crisis. So I don't know what this moment of truth is doing. Maybe we should probably have a moment of silence for this moment of truth. Well, that's about over with, because that's about as seriously as they took it with everything at COP28. Saudi's also saying something. What's Saudi saying?
Saudi Arabia joined in on this pig pile. Saudi says absolutely not in order to phase down at COP28. You got to love this one. The Saudi Arabia's energy minister did not want to get outdone. So this is a pig pile of Saudi ministers, energy ministers slammed the door shut, agreeing to phase fossil fuels at the UN. Okay. Let's see, he goes, absolutely not. Now, this one is better. What was the Biden thing that they said don't the other day? I thought that was pretty funny when they were trying to say, oh, by the way, you bad men don't. Okay, absolutely not. I can buy that. I think that's just as good. And I assure you, not a single person, I'm talking about governments, believes it will happen. You know why? What is Texas got? Texas has a surplus of money. Why? Because of oil and gas. He is dead on right. It's about the money. And that's why you're seeing Bill Gates and BlackRock going, oh, it's okay to invest in ESG and oil and gas because we need them. Oh, it's all about the money, stupid.
Of course it was. Of course it was always about the money. Again, they're only going to go so far in placating these climate goals as long as it doesn't affect their bottom line. The moment they start to see an effect to the bottom line, they begin to pivot, and they'll pivot long before that with what they're seeing now.
Oh yeah.
I hate to say it. We got to do this next article, Stu.
Oh, I know. This is absolutely a hoot. When you play this, we're going to have our Miss Producer pull this in, and I had it here just a second.
In the world, I find myself getting more and more militant because I do not understand how adults who are in positions of responsibility can be avoiding responsibility for taking away those things that are killing people on a daily basis. And the reality
Did
is
you
that
see her?
the climate crisis and the health crisis are one and the same.
We don't know who it
That's the
is,
problem.
but we can only
The
imagine
biggest
he
problem
probably
is
had a little bit
John
of
Kerry.
mayo on his hot
You don't
dog.
believe me? All right, you be the judge. Listen.
How adults who are in positions of responsibility can be avoiding responsibility for taking away those things that are killing people on a daily basis. And the reality is that
You heard it, right?
those things that are killing people on a
That's
daily
34
basis.
seconds of the
And
funniest
reality
thing
is
I
that
have
The man
heard.
farted. You talk about
That's
greenhouse
34
gases.
seconds, Michael,
Honestly, that's
of the
more obvious than
funniest
the
thing
air is
I've heard in a
small,
long
folks.
time. And then you see, I swear it looked like Ursula, but it was not. It was somebody that just, they cut to a girl and she goes,
Yeah. It's not good. All right, let's move to nuclear power.
Oh, but nuclear is the only solution. So let's have a moment for Lurch. Okay, nuclear is the only solution here, and I have to admit there were 22 countries in a different article that said yes, we are going to be increasing nuclear. This is absolutely fabulous, but there's something coming around the corner that the EU is again moving on sanctioning Russian. It's now moving again. I saw some more stuff on it. So, yes, they're signing the paperwork over on my left hand. For all of our podcasters, I'm doing this. And then the right hand is over here going, no, you're not. So, wedge between energy crisis and the climate change, nuclear is at that crossroad.
I mean, I fundamentally disagree, but that's just for another time. I think
Why do you disagree?
I think nuclear is part of the solution. I don't think it's the only solution. That's where, it's not sexy to deal in non superlatives, but I think, saying it's the only solution, it's going to be a part of the solution. Texas, as you just mentioned, just showing how everything can be a part of the solution.
I agree. I'm energy agnostic. I could care less. And by the way, we need nuclear, but we need the dang regulations running away. Let the markets handle it, baby.
I'm absolutely with you. So, you got anything else for us?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Well, we'll spare everybody and quickly cover what happened in the finance markets today. NASDAQ actually happened to finish up about 0.2 of a percentage point. S&P 500 finishes fairly flat. Crude oil has another, not great day, down about 2.5 percentage points, all the way down to 72.11. Brent trading down the same percentage to 78.03. Natural gas trading $2.70. Mainly, people are doubting these voluntary quote unquote cuts that OPEC Plus had. They really haven't done anything to qualms the market. What's interesting is the fact that the Saudi energy minister in a separate interview, 3 days ago mentioned that we're going to continue to cut to balance the market. They don't believe the prices should be this low. They want to see $100 oil. So it's going to be interesting to see if they come out more forcefully here and say, hey, more cutting is coming, kind of like what we do with rate cuts, telling and showing investors that we're going to be in a guidance policy going forward. Not much really happened on the oil and gas news side. Crescent Energy decided to raise a little bit of debt at 9.25 percentage points. Man, they must be hurting for capital over there. API did drop their EIA crude oil storage inventory estimates. They're estimating about a 600,000 barrel build. So we'll see what they drop. That'll be about 10 o'clock as you guys listen to this on the 6th. What else do we got, Stu?
Oh, it's just a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Next week, if it is going to hang around, there's some interesting financial news coming out pretty soon.
You and your sources. We're going to leave it at that, folks. We're going to let you speculate on that all night. But with that, guys, we're going to let you get on out of here, finish up your day. Appreciate you guys checking us out here on the world's greatest website, energynewsbeat.com. For Stuart, Turley, I'm Michael Taylor. See you tomorrow, folks.
Thank you.